My name is Brandon Jensen, and I am the owner of Modern Threat Response, and we go by the acronym MTR. Some of my hobbies, being in Utah, living in Utah, is outside. You know, I love anything outside. Hunting, fishing, hiking, anything where I'm not inside and I can enjoy what's around us. Another thing I love to do is training with firearms. I love training with police departments, military groups. It's a fun thing. It's kind of like an organized activity, like it would be with football, a group activity where you actually go and clear a house. It's pretty fun. You know, it's total teamwork, and when it's done right, it's a fun thing to do. Boy, what got me to be in the firearms industry is I grew up in Idaho, and I was around guns since I can remember. Hunting ducks, geese, deer, elk, you name it. You know, we hunted it. And the gun itself fascinated me. I loved it. You know, it was a fun tool that we had. Different calibers, how it functioned, pump, lever, semi, and whatnot. And then my brother and I purchased the AR-15, and we wanted to learn how to do it. And so we got to get some training and took some fun classes on it. And that kind of started the passion toward, hey, if there's a way that I could, you know, provide for my family by selling guns, you know, from early on and all the experience with it, and then from what we learned from some pretty cool people, kind of started that bug and got me into where I am today. So that's a great question about how to purchase a firearm and the ease of it. If you have a Utah concealed carry permit, it's very simple. If you have a Utah driver's license, there's a few extra steps. But what you have to do is if you purchase it in-store, my store, Cabela's, any gun store, it's going to require a background check. And what's cool about Utah versus other states, we have a state-run facility. It's called BCI. And BCI does your background check really quick. Whereas in other states, they go through a national background check. And it can take up to 3 days. So here, we do a background check with you. And within 5-10 minutes, we'll have an approval and on you go. After you fill out a form, it's called a 4473. And that's for an in-store purchase. Very simple. For online, it's the same thing. You purchase it, but it has to go, once the gun is purchased, it has to go to a licensed federal firearm dealer or an FFL. It can't go directly to your house, despite what you may hear and what other politicians may say. It has to go to an FFL. And once it gets delivered to the FFL, then you come in and you do it just the same exact way. You complete the 4473, and we do a background check, and off you go. So what would prevent someone from actually getting the gun? So from the 4 years that I've been in this location, just 4 years, I've only had one denial. There are 3 options that come back from BCI, the Bureau of Criminal Identification, the state-run agency. One is approved, and that's where we all high-five and off you go with your new gun. 2 is delayed, which doesn't mean you're going to get denied, but delayed means that if you're John Smith, they want to make sure that John Smith that's filling out the form is the John Smith that's that they see that can have the gun. So if you have a pretty common name, you may get delayed. And then BCI will do a deeper search into it, into your background, make sure it's the same person that we're talking about. And then the third one is denied. And I've only had one denial, and they don't get a lead with it. And it doesn't happen very often, because most people that could legally buy guns, you know, will buy the gun. He didn't have any idea. As a dealer, we don't know what causes that denial. That's not our privilege. We just know that they're denied. And then they have to go, the individual got denied. Doesn't mean it's the end of the road for them buying the gun. They can go to the BCI, to their office, and ask them, hey, what is it? What is it that got me denied on the form, and it could go anywhere from a domestic abuse and to the obvious is like a felony. And they'll tell you, a lot of times a temporary restraining order will do it, and they have to go in and get that cleared up with the judge, and when it's released, then there's a certain time frame and they could purchase it. But those are the three things. Never, ever, if you get denied in any gun store, do you walk out with a gun. It just never happens. And with that, sometimes you hear that you could just buy a gun without a background check, and that's completely false. In a gun store, there is not a chance you're going to leave without a background check, because what that does is that puts my license as a dealer at risk, and I'm not going to put my livelihood on the line for a complete stranger, you know. And also, what if he goes out and commits a crime? There is possibly some liability on my end if I didn't do the correct background check. So there's steps put in place so you can't leave the store without, you know, the proper approval from the state agency. So the way that I support the Second Amendment right movement is twofold. One is I support local entities, right? The NRA, and it's more of a national and local, and any type of rallies or anything where I could lend my time to it is one way that I like to help a Second Amendment. The other way is, and this may sound a little different, is I like to talk to people that hate guns. You know, I am not a big open carry advocate, right? Because if you see someone open carrying inside of a store or something, and you're on the fence of whether or not you like guns, and you see this guy in line at Walmart with an AR-15 slung over his shoulder, you're not saying, woo, I want to do more of that gun stuff. You get a little freaked out, and I get a little freaked out. But what I want to do is talk to these people and have them come into my world of just shooting. It's a fun sport. You know, it doesn't have to be for self-defense. It's a fun thing to do. And so the way that I promote that Second Amendment is talk to the people that are anti-gun or not necessarily even anti-gun, that just aren't familiar with guns, and give time to train, to instruct, to let them know it's just not about, you know, self-protection, home protection. And so when I get the chance and the person's reasonable, you know, I like to talk to them. And I think that's a good way to help the Second Amendment movement to keep positive, because there really is a lot of negative comments going around about guns and gun control.